Crowded as the mind can be with thoughts, usually people feel they don't have time enough to slow down and to see where they are, or see that they are. However, when sitting, we observe both one thought after another coming into our minds, and just as easily vanishing from them, and times when, as well, we don't have any thoughts. In noticing their ephemeral nature like this, we come to recognize that thoughts are not always something that attention must be given to. Thoughts are usually just thoughts. And though they obviously come from our minds, they don't really have to represent who we are. They are, if anything, what gets in the way of our recognizing our true nature, even if this isn't clear at first. We are particularly prone to believe in thoughts that are related to our preferences. Such thoughts can seem relevant, as if ready-made for us, but only appear to show who we are to ourselves. Indeed, they are as apt to be at the source of the difficulties that we find ourselves having. We experience this as dissatisfaction when not getting what we want or getting what we don't want. Nevertheless, continuous awareness of our thoughts in meditation and in daily life as well serve to reduce their influence over us. In a way that is analogous to experiencing rebirth, at some time, instances of negative thinking in our mind will begin to be countered with positive thinking. Why we strongly feel a need for having preferences is due to a likely unacknowledged belief in a self that expects to have choices. However, our not being bothered by not getting what we want or getting what we don't want opens us to experiencing whatever appears in front of us, irrespective of whether or not we have a choice in the matter. An inconsequential example of this would be my not caring if I don't get my wish to sometimes have strawberries for breakfast. I just have raspberries instead. That's why it's in subsequential here. When not having to have our own way ceases to be a concern, and things are what they are, irrespective of, or are what they are, whatever our thoughts about them are. Try that one again. When not having to have our own way ceases to be a concern, and things are what they are, whatever our thoughts about them are. In this way, sitting practice takes us to where we are, who we are for the first time. Takes us to where we are, who we are for the first time. Once we are aware of this inner self, our practice turns to what is outside of us. Though this also is us, in that whatever is in our world is us. This includes those persons who would be aided by having help. They may be unlikely, as we once were, to have a clear understanding of what practice entails. If they desired, for instance, to be happy in life, they couldn't be, because to be happy would require them not to be focused on themselves. Moreover, living in a more realistic way by not stressing personal preferences might seem to them to be in conflict with their habits for how they look after themselves. Were it not for us being there, practice could seem counterintuitive and seemingly not to be about them. We look after people both out of sympathy and in responding to what our world presents us with. Thus, meditation leads us to realize not only our inner self, but to actualize it in our ordinary outward facing self. Thus, meditating, I'm sorry, I was correcting this without a computer this morning and I wrote quite a lot. So it's hard to read here. Thus, meditating leads us to realize not only our inner self, but also to actualize it in our ordinary out-facing self. Form is emptiness, and emptiness is form in the Heart Sutra refers to these two sides of the self. Form is emptiness is concerned with how the self-centered us is gone beyond, and the inner self is revealed. And emptiness is form is concerned with how the outer self integrates this knowledge off the cushion or chair as well. Similarly, the formal meal chant in Soto Zen starts that our purpose in practice is, quoting, to stop all evil, to practice good, to save all sentient beings, and to accomplish the Buddha's way. Forgetting about the meaning of evil in our culture, but we stop doing what is detrimental to ourselves and others. Okay? This refers to form as emptiness, while to practice good and to save all sentient beings is about emptiness as form. That is, together, they inform us about who we are and what our life is, showing us that this is us and this is our life. Having we and our lives becoming indistinguishable, is to accomplish, which is inside and outside being one. Having our lives and ourselves become indistinguishable, which is inside and outside being one, is to accomplish the Buddha's way. Thanks. Oh, I lost that, but anyway, that's okay. It's okay. I can reach down if we need it. Anybody have any comments or questions? Yes. Yes, Mike.
Part of your talk where you're talking about the mental processes are emptiness, but how they present themselves to the outer world is form. I mean, like our intentions are emptiness, but our actions are form, because we have to have the thought first in order to do something. And if we are in our practice, following the precepts and everything else like this, then it becomes a natural process, but it's still emptiness, form. You have to have both. I don't think I'm making sense here, but basically our thoughts create our actions and how we interact in the world. That's emptiness, making form.
How our thoughts?
Our thoughts are how we interact with what we call the outer world. And that is our actions. Our actions are form and our thoughts are emptiness.
Not it's a little convoluted. Well, what I said was convoluted, and you upped it and making it even more convoluted.
That's my job.
But, yeah, don't. But that was a nice try, anyway. And actually, I had to think a little bit about it because you did a good job there at the end of making thoughts into form and our life into emptiness.
Yeah, our thoughts are emptiness, but they become form when we, I guess, lack of a better word, act upon them, because that's what people see of us. That's how we see the world. That's the form of the emptiness of the thought that influences our interaction with what we call the outside
Anybody
world.
want to help me here?
I need help too.
So what kept sort of occurring to me is that thoughts and actions are both form.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they are, of course.
And that
yes, they are both form.
Basically, anytime you're differentiating between things and concepts, it's not emptiness. Is that fair?
Any kind of, say it again, please.
Whenever you're differentiating concepts, things, whatever, and using, sort of basically labeling and naming things, anything at all, even if it's sort of, non-tangible, non-physical, like algebra, or an intrusive thought, whatever it is, if you've named it, it's not emptiness.
Well, that's definitely true. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we? Would you say that the outward-facing self, as you said, is maybe not in terms of like presenting Buddhism, but just in a sort of more day-to-day life, skillful means?
When I was
or does it go beyond that?
No, it's a part of skillful means. Yeah. Skillful means is connected in this. Yes.
If we're not aware that our outward-facing self is just that, if we take it for granted that is all we are, what is that? Like, what are we doing?
That's another kind of delusion.
Just that. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. That's anyway. That's what happened here. I think I skipped a line here, but maybe not. Anyway, what the important point. I mean, this is the experience of meditation, okay? But ultimately, and my talk was actually about didn't include the beyond that, okay? But it just right at the end, I added a couple of sentences in the past 20 minutes before the talk because I hadn't dealt with and to accomplish the Buddha's way, which is a part of the quote. It was to stop all evil, to practice good, to save all sentient beings, and to accomplish the Buddha's way.
Does accomplishing the Buddha's way, is that like transcending or going beyond, not identifying with the small self, great compassion?
Yeah, well, anyway, it's not a matter of transcending.
Okay.
It's a matter of dropping off.
Okay.
So reality you might say becomes realer. I mean, reality becomes real, and we thought it was real all along, but not in a certain sense. No, it's not.
And when we realize, what I thought was reality was just a thing, and then we go, reality is actually what I'm experiencing right now. Or have we fallen back into that trap?
I'm sorry, to do that again.
Once we feel like we've dropped off something,
yes,
is that also a delusion?
Well, you don't have to think that we've dropped off things.
Okay.
That's a result rather than a well, it's an ending.
Mm-hmm.
The Vajrayanas call it. Dalai Lama said, "No more teaching, or no more thought." Okay, but of course, no more teaching is the same as the Heart Sutra. Right? That's no more teaching, and then so everything that's happening until in these first two things of form is emptiness of form, you're still with the Dharma. You're still following. This is not a path to follow, but it's what occurs to you when you follow the path. So if this, think of it about a path that to follow, that would be a mistake, because then you're being tied down to a thought. So these are things you recognize after they occur, but people talk about them before they occur in you, maybe themselves as well, but they're a part of Buddha Dharma. Okay, but that all that stuff no longer is relevant, because you and your inside and your outside are the same. Now there's a jump there. This is what, as I mentioned before, this is what all 5 skandhas are empty means. Inside and outside are the same.
I like when Suzuki Roshi just said, like, the throat's just like a swinging door with space on either side.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Like that. Yes. Well, although that's more of a meditation experience.
Okay.
I think, but I didn't ask him about it. Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris.
Sorry.
No, that was good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Or yes, Jane?
Well, I was gonna say something about what Mike said, that thought precedes our action. And I think in the best of times, that would be true. We would be so logical that thoughts preceded everything we did. But I think that's overlooking how much we act on urges, of which the source, which we don't even have any idea, is from. And we act on those urges as much as thought, I think. And later we add thought to it, maybe just to explain why, or try to make sense of it to ourselves. But I do think we act on a lot, but urges are one of the big ones, and we don't even know most of the time where the urge for a piece of cake or a strawberry comes from. We only know that we want it, and we don't know why we want it or what promoted that want in the first place. And if we paid more attention to where the urges arise from, it might be interesting.
Yeah, so this is the same thing, I think, close, Jane, isn't it? To having preferences.
Yeah.
But anyway, they come from a self that we don't recognize that there is.
We don't recognize it. Yeah, it's an unconscious part of us that has great power to want and not want, and to motivate us into action. And we're still so ignorant of the greater part of us that unconscious self has an ability to promote all kinds of things in our life that we may not want even, because we don't recognize that as part of us.
So we need to be a little mindful before we react. We have to kind of stop and, why do you want to do this? Why do you want this? You know.
Actually, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Why am I thinking that I want strawberries or cake?
That's Peter's fault.
Fortunately, Jane doesn't touch my strawberries very much. Mark?
Could you ask people at home this, if they heard all that Jane said?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out a system here. Did you hear what Jane said? Yeah.
Yep. All right. Cool.
Okay. Good. Yeah, it's very, very pertinent, of course. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Peter. Even the notion that thoughts are ours, like, I think I have a thought and it's all me. It's all mine. But even thinking's so strange. I mean, sometimes it's as though I'm the object and the world's the subject, because if the door opens, or Mike moves on screen, or Spencer suddenly zoom, I mean, I'm sitting here and everything is happening, and my thinking will respond And I'm not sitting here saying, now I'm going to, it's as though even my idea that my thought is me is erroneous, really. I don't mean completely. I mean, I have a choice, but I mean, I
We'll
support
survive.
that.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with Rachel. We shouldn't identify our whole being with something like a thought, which is truly ephemeral.
Mark, have you come in yet?
I have one question for you.
Okay, uh-oh. Ominous, Sonny.
You thought I was bad.
In my way-seeking mind,
Say it once again.
in my way-seeking mind,
Yes.
where do I set my GPS to?
So bad.
In my way-seeking mind, what do I set my GPS to?
Part of the sun.
You gotta be kidding.
I would think nowhere.
Just take the batteries out and toss them.
Ask Siri.
Anyone else? Well, anyone else? Well, not anyway. Yes, thank you for listening. Today, that's it, okay?